Hello, Birdman here with my top 10 games. I got my notes in front of me so I don't forget what I want to say because I want to make sure that I get all my points across and give you reasons why these are my 10 favorite games. So I'll start at number 10 with Trickerion. It's by Mind Clash Games, and it's an awesome game about each person is a stage illusionist, and you're trying to create the best magic tricks by collecting resources and then being able to um, manipulate those resources to create tricks and then be able to, at the end of the round, uh, perform these magic tricks. And if you do it better than your opponents, then you get more money. Eventually, you get money and fame, and then the person with the most fame at the end of the game wins. And so, one of the reasons why I like it so much is it's an extremely deep game because of all the different aspects of resource collecting and creating tricks and drafting cards to be able to get to those tricks. But it's just a gorgeous game as well. If you've never seen it, it's a beautiful board. Cards are really unique looking with the tricks on them and the different characters that you get as far as your apprentices and different people you get to help you. So that was Trickerion, number 10. Number 9 is Anachrony, also a Mind Clash game, and this is another deep, another heavy worker placement game like Trickerion, my number 10. But what makes Anachrony such a cool game is that it's actually got the ability of traveling through time. You can go into the future, get resources that you need to bring back to the current round. But the cool part is if you don't, or if you're not able to pay those resources back when that turn comes up in the future, really bad things happen. Also, big, beautiful board, awesome art, awesome cards. Just everything about the game is just over the top. And if you get a chance to play it, I highly recommend that you get the mech upgrade pack as well, because nothing is cooler than those mechs for the game. It's number 9, Anachrony. My number 8 is Power Grid. Power Grid's by Rio Grande Games. It's an older game, but it's definitely one of my favorites. It's a really heavy manipulation game of different types of markets. You got markets for buying power plants, which is actually an auction system. Then you got a market for, not really a market, but you have to buy cities to be able to power with those power plants that you just bought in the previous round. And then finally, there's a market system for the resources that you have to power the power plants. And every single part of those is you're just vying for the best power plants, the best cities, and the best resources with everyone else. And it's just so well done on how the player interaction is. It's a beautiful game. It's awesome. That's my number 8 game, Power Grid. My number 7 game is Orleans or Orleans, however you want to pronounce that. But Orleans it's come out in multiple different iterations. I have the deluxe version by Tasty Minstrel Games. It's a really neat bag builder game. You get different tokens, and each token is a different worker. And so you're drawing these tokens out blindly that then you can then place on either your player board or a scoring board to be able to score points. And so what makes the game so wonderful is that there's so many different options. It's a point salad game, and just how many different actions and how many different ways to score points. And the fact that you don't know what you're pulling. You know what you're buying, but you don't know what you get. And so it's a really neat combination of different mechanics in one game. That's number 7, Orleans. My number 6 game is Voyages of Marco Polo. Another great worker placement game, but what's unique about Marco Polo is that instead of meeples as workers, it's dice. So you actually roll your dice, and the number of pips on your dice that you use dictates how many times or how much that action you want to take is worth. So for example, if you place a 6 on one of the spaces, it gives you 6 camels. Instead of placing 4 dice, it gives you 4 camels. So it's a really neat game, another point salad game where there's lots of different ways of scoring. There's movement, there's building into different cities, there's contracts that you can complete by collecting resources, lots of different ways of scoring. But it's a really unique dice placement game, and a game where the dice pips dictate the reward you get for placement. That's number 6, Voyages of Marco Polo. Number 5 is Scythe. Scythe is an epic Stonemaier action selection game. Beautiful components, beautiful board, really unique board game. And I think one of the things it's most well known for is its unique art and story, which is an alt history, like pre-World War II, and kind of centered around the Russian side of the world. And it's just really cool steampunk giant mechs, but low tech at the same time. So the artwork is just really unique and it's just gorgeous. Highly recommend that you just look for the artwork. But what's cool about Scythe is that it's got a lot of different mechanics. You got some worker placement, you got combat, you got exploration, you got all kinds of cool things in Scythe. And there's lots of expansions, there's a campaign element. So it's just really cool. And so Scythe has just got a little bit of everything for everyone. So I highly recommend the number 5 selection, Scythe. For a game of all time that I got rated as Feast for Odin. This is probably my very favorite Uwe Rosenberg game. If you've not heard of Uwe Rosenberg, he's made some really popular games, Agricola. There's I can't even think of them all. Glass Road, some really good, excellent games, and by far the majority of them are considered farming games. He's also got a string of 2-player games called that use Tetris-style pieces, and the first one was called Patchwork. So if you've heard of that, so that's Uwe Rosenberg. And Feast for Odin is a little unique compared to all those, and it's a huge box game. There's a ton of bits to it. But what's kind of cool is that it's got Tetris-style pieces where you're covering your board on your income, trying to increase the amount of money you get each round. That also gives you additional bonus points. And it's got a huge action selection board. And so that's really unique in how it's laid out. Highly recommend Feast for Odin if you've never played it. It's I wouldn't call it a really heavy game, but it's pretty deep and it's got just a lot of stuff you can do. It's really neat and cool looking game. Number 4, Feast for Odin. Every game is Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is a classic, probably, and I believe the very first role selection game where you have different roles that you select, and then that everyone gets to do that role. But whoever selects it the first time gets a bonus. So, for example, one action is that you get to recruit additional colonists. But whoever recruited them gets an additional colonist on top of what everybody else gets. And so it's a neat game where you're building buildings on your colony, you're farming the land, you're collecting resources, you're shipping resources to get either money or victory points. I happen to have the 10th anniversary edition, which just makes it a little bit better looking. It's neater components, nicer components. Highly recommend that copy. You can find that. But Puerto Rico is a classic. If you've not played it, it's a must play for any board gamer, in my opinion. That's number 3, Puerto Rico. Number 2 game is my very favorite worker placement game of all time, and that's Viticulture. Now, Viticulture is another Stonemaier game. I think it's their best game that they ever made. One of the first ones, but still one of the best. Now, I do have to emphasize that because there's so many expansions for it and modular versions called the Essential Editions. So the version that I got is the original Viticulture with Tuscany Essential. And I think that's the best way because it literally gives you every single module of the expansions you can get. But it's a big, beautiful board. Basically, you're growing grapes, turning that into wine, selling the wine for either your wine orders that you can get or just trying to get money and or victory points by selling the wine. Buildings gives you victory points, but the main way to win the game is selling wine. And it's just a beautiful, elegant, very well made game. That's Viticulture, my number 2 game with the Tuscany Essentials edition added on. And finally, my number 1 game of all time, Too Many Bones. If you never heard of Too Many Bones, it's a huge, epic, co-op, multiplayer game where you play as a character called a Gearlock. And one of the things that makes it so cool is that every gear lock has multiple ways of playing it. One of my favorite gear locks is Patches. So Patches, he's a shield master. So you can either build that character up as a defensive monster that blocks all the damage for the team, but then you can turn around and deal damage with the amount of defense that you built up. And that's just one of like 4 different ways for just Patches, but you've got so many different gear locks that are available in the game now. So there's a lot of variety in just who you play as, but there's also a proverbial ton of bad guys called tyrants that you got to play against. In addition to that, there's random scenarios, and so if you get some of the expansions that involve like Undertow or Splice and Dice, there is literally infinite variety to this game. You would never play the same scenario, the same gear lock against the same tyrant more than one time in a row. Every game would be unique, if you want it to be. And so, but that's not even the best part. The best part is the component quality. The dice, the gear lock mats, the player mats, everything is just beautiful and just so well made. It literally is waterproof. You can. There's a video that Adam Carlson, one of the creators, did where he played the game in the bathtub filled with water. You can do that if you want. I don't recommend it, but you can do it. And that just blew my mind the first time. This was the first game I kickstarted where I went all in, just because it was such a cool concept. And when I got it, it's become my #1 game of all time, and I just can't recommend it enough. It's expensive, and I understand that, and it's kind of a barrier for some, but believe me, every penny is worth Too Many Bones, my #1 game. Thank you, and that's everything from my perspective. You're going to hear from Dragon Mother and Randrak with their top 10s, and I'm sure theirs is going to be vastly different than mine. Thank you.